Hello.
I got stuck on the interstate. There was an accident, so I just got here a couple minutes ago.
Oh, nothing like running home and getting right into it, right?
Oh, tell me. Let me just shut the door. All right. I just think another week and I can actually grow my hair back.
I was gonna say, I imagine it's a challenge to keep it quite that shiny every day.
Well, actually, I didn't shave today, and it is very smooth here. I just left this, but I did shave this. But this is really strange.
I know, I'm with you. I was growing out a nice winter beard there, and had a new job interview, and so thought I should probably trim it down to my regular goatee there and look a little
Yeah,
bit more. Not that the longer beard wasn't professional, but just looking for a little bit more professional look. Dress to impress, right?
absolutely, absolutely. Okay. Did you have any questions on the quiz, or are you just looking at it, or?
Let me take a peek here. The one that's coming up, correct?
Yeah, the third one.
Okay. Um,
I had one person who's already taken it, and one person who
do
attempted it, but I haven't quite found. The attempt has been going on for a few days now, so I think something's wrong.
oh. Let's see. And just to confirm, and that's over the Unit 4 stuff, correct? That's sort of what I've been going through in
Yeah,
preparation.
that's the stuff that I was going to go over tonight.
Wonderful.
I wanted to see if anybody had a question about it, to make sure that everybody knew the difference between validation and verification and all the other fun and games.
Hmm.
Lessons.
No, I don't think any questions on my end so far.
Yeah, I mean, most of the PowerPoints and the other information, validation tools, hearing handicap inventory, it's basically giving you the information on the AFAB, the hearing handicap inventory, the COSI, which are all things that are going to be coming up in the quiz, because picking whichever one feels most appropriate to you and going with those on a consistent basis, unless you have a patient that just doesn't do well in taking one of the tests. And you can see, when a patient's taking a test, or if you're asking them the questions and they just cannot give you a valid answer, you go to a different test.
Right, use something else.
And if they can't, clarify what their sensations are, you go off test. Because when you use, and this is one of the things that I was lucky enough to pick up in grad school. I had an instructor that said, basically, learn the basics, learn the accepted procedure. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is how you do it. When we were doing pure tones, we used them. We had it down by rote. Modified Houston-Westlake technique, masking, done 10 dB, up 10, down 5. You would plateau, use the plateau method in order to maintain validity of not overmasking or undermasking. I mean, we had the whole thing down. And then he said, now here's the thing. If you find a way that works more easily for you, but is still as consistent, if you can justify your changes, fine. But you can't just do it on a whim. You have to have some way of verifying your procedure is giving you an accurate result.
Right.
And excuse me. And what happened was you could get into different situations. If you felt that something was just not going right, you went back to the original system. You went back to the basic. Learning that basic, learning that procedure that you use on a standard basis gives you the foundation, gives you the anchor.
Okay.
And when you go to a patient that just cannot give you a specific answer, or you ask them and they change. Each time you ask them, you ask them the same question in 3 different ways and they give you 3 different answers.
Mm.
You know you have to go to, all right, well, yeah, what would you say? But you have that feel in here of what you're looking for.
Right.
And by conversation, you can glean a lot of the information. So this is part of it too. Verification is very nice because it verifies what you are attempting to do. That's really your measurements. That's a lot of the other tests that you're doing, a lot of the questions that you're doing, using the client-oriented scale of improvement. You've given them the test before, you've given them the test after. There should be a specific percentage of improvement. Mm-hmm. The satisfaction with amplification in daily living. You should see them saying, yes, I do better when I sit down. If they come in and say, well, I sit in the breakfast nook, my wife comes in and her blankety blank parrot drives me crazy. And it didn't before. Well, does she say it drives her crazy too? Yeah. Well, then guess what?
It drives everybody crazy.
That's correct. Abbreviated profile, hearing aid benefit. You're looking for what benefit, what improvement the hearing aid is giving you, and you are verifying that from the time the person started with the problem to the time that the person is sitting at your office table right now giving you answers, there is an improvement. They are giving you the information that is also validating that improvement.
Right. And I don't know, have you heard of the, I'm trying to remember, the confident, or I always just abbreviate it. It's confidence profile for us. And it's 12 questions. I'm trying to remember whose study it was based off of too. But it's essentially, it's a 12 question thing that we ask every patient that comes in, because we were, rate on a scale from 1 to 5. How confident are you in these different situations? How confident are you in this listening situation? How confident you are in moving to adjust your sound, moving to make sure that your speaker is in a good position, those type of things. And then we build that out annually, or even, every 6 months, to see, has that improved? And if it has improved, good. If it's if we fit them and then it's improved and it maintains the same, we know that they're doing what it should. Good. And if it goes down, then we know there's something to change.
Exactly. Or their hearing has changed, or the aid needs servicing. Something in the pathway of correcting the problem has been changed.
Right. Something's different.
Yeah, and that would be like the AFAB. It's a modification of the AFAB, because you're showing the profile of hearing aid benefit, which includes, on a scale from 1 to 5, when you're in this situation, how would you rate it? Well, if they start out with everything as 1s and they go to 5s, wonderful. If they go to 4s, wonderful. If they stay at 4 or 5, great. But if all of a sudden 6 months later they're saying, well, I go in here and I really... Have they adapted? Has brain elasticity given them the information that they need more? And also, they've gotten older. Mm-hmm. So you have not just brain elasticity of adapting to hearing the new sounds, you also have the change in adaptive function, cognitive function, Are they actually paying attention? Are they actually following what's being said as well as they did before? Hearing or processing?
Right. And and it's funny. I have ladies who come in and they're very aware of what has sort of changed, or no, they're like, when I started it seemed so much better, and now I find myself struggling, and they're like, and I really don't think it's a hearing aid issue. I think the hearing aid's doing what it's supposed to be doing. It's just mostly that I know that I have trouble in those situations, and it was good at first, and now I just want more. They're like, I just want more from it.
And that's very common. Now, figure it this way. When you have a hearing loss and the hearing aid brings you up to here,
Mm-hmm.
and you go, this is really great.
Mm-hmm.
This is the amount of effort you were putting in. And this is the amount of correction the hearing aid's putting in. Now you become more like the normal hearing person who only pays this much effort, this much attention. The hearing aid's still here, but now you want the hearing aid up here to average you back to this.
Right.
So if you have been constantly focused, paying attention, always listening, and normal hearing people don't do that. Well, now you're hearing more of the information, so you're going, well, I don't really have to work that hard. I don't have to pay attention that hard. You may not be consciously saying it, but you're able to relax a little bit.
Right.
And then they say they need a little bit more correction.
Mm-hmm.
This is normal. This is normal in most fittings. And I don't think they've actually done studies on that where the person's hearing has not changed, but the prescription has to be changed.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And I often start, I know with the gal who came in this week, I sat down and sort of explained good listening habits. Like we went back over good listening habits. And when you're in, she's like, I tried that program. I put her in a directional program the first time I fit her because I thought she's got a G500, which I know they say is just supposed to, or I'm sorry, that's the open. It's supposed to just sort of pick up everything and really pick out the sound signals and, the speech signals, excuse me. And I just told her, I was like, so here's the directional program. And what you've got to remember is in that situation, you want to put all that sound behind you. Put the noise, the crowd behind you if you can, and keep that speaker always in front of you. She's like, oh, well, that could be it. She's like, I was putting myself against walls because in previous situations, I always do better when I'm behind, next to a wall. And I'm like, okay, well, think about it. You've got that wall behind you and that hearing aid's filtering out everything behind you. There's nothing behind you, but you're facing forward where that cone is and you're just picking up all that noise. And she went, oh, yeah. She's like, that's going to be a game changer. It's like, exactly. Oh, good.
Exactly. And this is the biggest thing. You're reasoning with her and telling her, okay, I'm going to teach you how to make this even better. Mm-hmm. What you were doing was fine for your old system or for systems, without hearing aids trying to block out some of the background. But this device works better when you do it this way.
Right.
And that shows you respect her decision. You didn't say, oh, well, that's stupid. You don't sit that way. You were like, here's why. And the light bulb goes off and, oh, you now are compadre. Hey. We're on the same wavelength. You're confiding in me, explaining this technology and respecting that I didn't know what I didn't know.
Mm-hmm.
Because telling somebody, oh, well, you got to do this. It's like, hey, dummy.
That just makes them feel bad.
You have to respect the patient and approach things on their level of technical ability or comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
If the person's a carpenter, relay it in carpentry terms. If you have an electronic engineer, you can go crazy. If you have a woman who is, was active in PTA or in business conferences, and now is having trouble, you can say, well, what did you do in order to give yourself an advantage before we tried the hearing aid? Well, I would try to sit here, because they know what they were doing. They automatically were doing things. We do this. We are adaptable creatures.
Mm-hmm.
But usually we try to adapt the environment to us if we can adjust to the environment. Hence global warming, but we won't get into that. But, so if the person says, well, I always sat with my back to the wall. You don't do that anymore. Here's why. And you're approaching them as a competent person instead of an incompetent victim. And there's a big difference there.
Oh, yeah, and I always think that's I found that just approaching people in those real honest terms, because, that was the biggest challenge that I got over in my brain. These are just people. They're people just like your grandpa, just like my grandpa, just like anybody, a grandma, grandpa, friend, coworker, anybody who is having trouble. And you've got to approach it as, this is what I can tell you. I'm not going to demean you by saying, oh, that, you should know that. But I'm just going to come at you in the even plane and let me tell you what I know and let me tell you what I've experienced in seeing this sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's really one of the biggest things in the validation of what you're doing. You're showing them a numerical improvement in percentage, and you're also admitting to them, we're never going to get to 100%. A normal hearing person can hear 100%, but they don't process 100% of what they hear. They don't have to. Verification is also a number. I love real ear measurement.
Mm-hmm.
Doing it the original way, we did it with sweeps, and we were measuring the insertion gain minus the insertion loss versus the real ear insertion. We went through all of these permutations. But doing speech mapping, we know where we want it to be for the person to understand speech. We can see where it's falling down. Okay, yeah, you're missing all the sounds. I can see right here, we're just not getting those high enough for you. So we're going to boost that a little bit more, leave the rest alone. It gives you one of the best objective tools to work with, but you still have to temper it with the subjective comments of the patient.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I know when we sort of do our visible speech mapping and stuff like that, we like to do the what am I looking for? The calibrated sound. We measure out that calibration and make sure that it is what it should be, and make sure that the hearing aid is meeting that needs. And then, hoping that there's a clinician or a companion there. That companion is everything, because now it's like, okay, well, now let me put you in front of that companion of yours, and let's see where your companion falls during that live speech.
Exactly.
The companion loves it. The patient loves it. Everybody's happy.
And then you get someone that goes, can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going, do you see where you're talking down here below soft speech? Okay, this is where a normal hearing person would look at you and go, huh? You can't talk that low. Well, if I raise my voice, then what good is the hearing? If you talk normally, because invariably, when you tell them to talk in a normal voice, they go, oh, okay. How about now? Can you hear me now? And I have sat there and gone, pardon me?
Rewind.
Because they think that they should be able to hear me. I have trouble reading small print, which is why I have these. Now I can read small print, but there's print that's small enough that I still can't read it. So I get stronger glasses or bigger print. I don't say, oh, well,
What good are the glasses?
Something's wrong. These are, you have to make allowances in life. I have always felt that 90% of a successful fitting is counseling, listening to the patient, knowing the mechanics to do, knowing the acoustics to do, gives you the ability to make the adjustments, but the patient has to be willing to accept any limitation that the device has, because we're not giving them back normal hearing.
Right.
Now, with some of the work they're doing with stem cell research and some of the other things, I think they're closer now than they've ever been before. They may be able to regrow the hair cells.
Man,
at which point this entire business will go out the window.
And that's not so amazing, but
and
if you could get normal hearing, Guy, that would be a great thing.
But what's going to happen, I mean, if you think about it, they're starting to market over-the-counter devices to translate foreign languages, to protect your hearing when you're going to the rifle range, to allow you to have a conversation in the middle of a busy street. Why you want to stand in the middle of a busy street, I don't know, but but these devices are giving you better than normal hearing in some situations. And as technology improves, it's going to get better still. And what's going to happen then is we're going to have a whole different application of, okay, how can we maximize your auditory input? So you're tied to your music, you're tied to your calendar, you're tied to, they've got this thing now, I have it on my phone, it's called Line Learner. And what you do is you record the script in and you select your character and you read your line. Then you hit the next character that's speaking and you read the line and you say, well, this is fine, but when I play it back, how will I know which ones are mine and which ones are somebody else? Well, they just came out with a version. I can adjust the pitch of the other characters.
That's nice.
So I go, what are you doing over there? And instead of coming back with, well, I'm sitting in the chair, it comes back, well, I'm sitting in the chair, because it lowers the pitch, or I can raise the pitch. So now I can, if I don't have another person to record those lines. Well, before we didn't have this, I used to take a tape recorder and record my lines to play them back and just try to learn them that way. But now we have this whole thing. And in some instances, everything's already been set up so I can download the script and have it right in my phone.
That is nice.
Now, when did we start with this? 4 or 5 years ago? Because where was the need? Well, there wasn't a huge need for it because most people aren't going to go out and try to learn lines. But you can get things like this for your phone and adapt them to auditory devices. So we're going to be seeing some major changes in the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah, and I think it's funny that you bring that up because I've got a guy. I was just working on this. This is why I stayed late at work today. The boss's husband just got new opens, and he has been my challenge so far. I've sort of been the techie guy that figures out what he can do with them. And he came to me and said, I wanted to read my emails. And I wanted to read my text. And I thought, okay, that's great. I can get Siri to do that. Siri will do that for me. And I got all excited because this was going to be the plan. I was going to show him how to do it. And then he, I sort of told him that. I was like, I think we've got it out. We're going to work with Siri. And he goes, no. He says, see, I'm at a business meeting with 20 higher up guys. And I need not one of them to know that I'm doing this. I want this to read it to me without any effort on my part. I just need it to come in and read it to me. And I'm like, oh. You're going to have to give me another week.
Okay, if you set up your texts for push notification and have it do text to speech. But what would happen is every
time
text he got, it would read to him, which could be very distracting if he's in a meeting.
That's what I was thinking too, because I was like, I think that this is an option, but is it going to drive you nuts if it does this every time? Yes. Okay. Well, let me look for some apps. Let me look for something that would just be, tap the screen and it'll read, or something like that. Because I know that I found one I was playing around with. Just tap the screen and it'll read the text that's on the screen. When you let your finger off, it'll stop. And I'm hoping that will be the solution to our problem.
That may be work. If he's going to do something where he does touch the screen, you can have the text on a push and a read, but the read will be, all he has to do is touch it. You don't have to say, Siri, do this. You can pre-program an instruction and just say, make it a hotkey. Siri, whenever I do this, read the text. And it could be something like, push and hold at the star key.
I see what you did there, star key.
Ooh, no, that was unintentional.
But yeah, so I think that's going to be, but that's exactly like kind of what you're talking about, is finding better ways to meet those needs of the patient where things are just a little different, or this is the situation that I need it in, and how can I tweak the technology and how can I tweak the hearing aid to do those things, if I understand you correctly, and to an extent.
Yeah, and that's going to constantly be changing. I mean, having the phone as the remote control, we never even considered that. We didn't even think about that because smartphones weren't that smart.
Right.
Having it so it plays music in the background constantly and then stops when you do something. You can program that. Having it like with the Oticon system where it'll tell you when an appointment is. It'll give you an alarm. So there's a number of things that they're doing. Something you may want to do on that question of having it read the text to you. And he's wearing which model?
He's wearing the opens. Oh, the G500, so the level 9, the top level there.
Okay, the G500. That's which one is that?
I think that's the original one that they came out with, the open, and then I know they came out with the 400 and the 300, and I'm not sure what those are called in Oticon speak, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's because I was going G500 and I'm trying to remember because that in the Oticon, yeah, give audiology a call or give tech a call and just say, here's what the patient wants to do, because they've got some of the neatest geeks working there.
They do.
And they will sit and go, ooh, I didn't think of that. And they go crazy with it because they love that kind of stuff because it is so cool. And, if you can get it so your calendar sets the alarm to you, why not have it so it can read the text? And I'm sure that they've done research on that. I'm sure they have.
Yes, I think so. And I did sort of give them a ring had a short call with them, and they said that's actually who suggested the Siri thing too. They were like, well, had you considered Siri? And I was like, I wasn't sure how well it worked. He's like, it works really well. Good.
Yeah, but I think giving Siri a command that with basically a pre-programmed hotkey might be an answer. But and you may want to talk to them about that.
Cool. Will do.
Yeah.
Thank
Also, I have an Android phone, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
you.
But these are the things that are going to happen because we're going to be getting people who are more tech savvy that want more from the unit.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the older patients are, I just want to put it on and have it work. I don't want to have to think about it. That's a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to deal with which patient you have, the one that wants to play or the one that wants the kiss. Keep it simple. So that's also part of counseling. But these are major parts of the verification and validation that you're doing. And I think, if you just go through the PowerPoints that we've got here and you think when you're answering the questions, you're going to do fine on all those tests.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that so far I've not too bad. Pretty decent in terms of being able to think outside the box a little bit. Use what I know, what I've seen to sort of try to answer them.
And that's very important. Of course, I'm wondering now why I have to have a big post on the announcements threatening people to have them show up to these Zoom sessions. But
I was bummed that nobody else showed up today. I thought, oh, now we're gonna have a good full class.
Yeah, because we did last time.
Yeah, it was nice.
And as you could tell when I came on, I was a little PO'd because I really was surprised that people had so much trouble with the midterm.
Yeah. And I mean, and I definitely, I don't know. I didn't think it was too bad. I always hope for an A, but I'm happy with a B, and I definitely take what I get in that regard. Because there's some stuff that on there that I can honestly say, like the battery question, for instance, or what's
and after the session last week, I went back in and I went, this is right. That was an ambiguous question because usually when you're listening for feedback, the first thing you do is you make sure that you got a fresh battery. So I went back and all the people that had that, I gave them credit because it could have been either or. Whenever I had something that turned out to be an either or when it was explained to me, I went back and gave credit.
Mm-hmm.
But there were others, like the Pocket Talker being a wireless device.
That was a good one. That was a good one, and I couldn't believe, like, I even to that point, I was like, all right, so what was it the inexpensive part? And even until we went and talked about it, I couldn't figure it out. So and that's kind of why I like those follow-ups, just for me personally, because those ones that I do get wrong, or even the ones that I got right and maybe sort of, took an educated guess on.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah, the infrared system was sort of that educated guess stuff, but it was good for me because now in the future, when I come across it, I have a better understanding of it, and it's not just like, oh, I got that question wrong. I learned from why I got that question wrong.
Yeah, and also it also gives you a way of referencing infrared line of sight,
mm-hmm.
FM through the walls transmission. Infrared that's one of the things. Maybe we should have covered that a little bit better, but I find in some cases I make the mistake because a lot of these developments and changes occurred. I didn't take a class on it. It happened while I was working.
Right.
So we picked it up as we went along. And line of sight and with the infrared, why the TV talker or TV ears versus where they has the dome. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't realize, so they'll take it and they'll flip it up so the dome's facing the other way, and they go, this thing's not working. Why does it not work when I do that? But when I turn around, I can hear. Well, that's because you have the receptor facing away. Mm-hmm. Again, directional microphone. So all of this ties in. And if there's anything that, and again, that's what these sessions are for. If someone says, well, I don't understand this, I can explain it. But if nobody's here, to ask the question, I assume you picked it up.
Mm-hmm. And
So,
I'm with you. Did you see those? So I've got a question now that I'm thinking about it, now that we talked infrared. I
mhm.
was wondering if you had seen, because they just started to implement this in our theater, or we got a new theater in Traverse City, not a stage theater, but movie theater. Glasses for the hard of hearing. I've been super excited. I've been telling everybody. Glasses for the hard of hearing that will display the subtitles up on the screen when you wear the glasses. When you take the glasses off, no subtitles. But for people who have a difficult time, so is that, and that's, to be honest with you, that's what I was thinking when you said infrared, because I was not certain whether or not that was an infrared technology. But do you know how that? I mean,
There's a couple of ways that works.
mm-hmm.
There are glasses now where it actually puts it along the bottom edge of the lens.
Okay.
You can see it that way. There are also glasses that some theaters are using where you put the glasses on and it's like a rear view mirror on the sides.
Oh.
And they run a reverse image
Subtitle in the back
behind you. So if you turn around and look at the projector underneath where the projector is, it will have the words backwards. And when you look in a mirror, it's frontwards.
Okay.
So there's a number of different ways that they do it. Some will do it where this will pick up a certain width of transmission on the bottom of the screen. But what they're doing is these are all adaptive technologies. The one where it shows it on the bottom is either you're seeing a separate transmission bandwidth through the glasses, or it's actually writing on the bottom of your own glasses. One of the things that they're doing with that is someone in, I think it was Germany, I'm not positive, but he developed hearing glasses for deaf, capital D, where you would speak, and just like with the caption call, it would write the words along the bottom of the lens.
Oh, that is cool.
So the translator was in the system. You had processors in here, and it just ran it across the bottom of the lenses.
Oh, that is cool. I'm going to have to look that up.
So the person could sit and talk with someone and not lip read. They could just read.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, for the lowercase deaf, lowercase d, that would act as a supplement.
Mm-hmm.
For the capital D, it would act almost like a translator when you put that device in and the person's talking Italian and you don't understand Italian and it says it in English in your ear, which is now becoming a viable product.
Right.
So we're seeing a lot of changes right now. The changes you're seeing now are a culmination of things that were started back in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Dragon Naturally Speaking, where you would dictate and it would type, was the speech to type. Then they made the reverse of that, type to speech. And that's where caption call came into being, because now you talk into, and the speech recognition programs are becoming more and more and more intelligent. And they are writing these things. The CapTel and Caption Call have been using like court reporters at a central station where they have the Dragon Naturally Speaking type of software trained to their voice. So they have that funnel on their mouth. The person is talking on the phone to you. They hear it, say it, and it types on your screen because it's trained.
Right.
So it's not that it has to react to the other person's voice. is reacting to their voice. And they're basically just the pass-through. Well, as the artificial intelligence level improves, the person's going to be out of a job because anybody can talk into it and it will type it. But then you still run into the problem of heavy accents and certain other things. But this technology is going to be going into the hearing aids as well, because what will happen is they will have the hearing aids where the sound comes in. And if, Joe Schmo is wearing his hearing aid and he has his remote input device, and every time somebody says a word, he hits, I don't understand it. Over time, it will modify the reception on that particular section of sound to try to maximize his benefit. So as these things get smarter, it's going to do even more.
Huh.
So all of those sci-fi books that we used to read as kids and as adults, I still read them. It's all there. The potential is there.
I took my grandpa worked for NASA. When he passed away, I took 7 bankers boxes of old yellow pages falling apart at the bindings, sci-fi books that were just the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. But I couldn't, hard to let them go. I picked out the best of the best. The rest I donated but the good ones, I kept those just to read in my spare time.
Well, here's the thing. Go back to when he was a kid and he first read them. None of that technology existed.
Right.
Except in the science fiction book, which gave NASA, why do we have compact micro miniature hearing aids? They didn't develop it for the hearing aid division. They developed it for NASA. Lighter package, less payload needed to get the rocket off the ground and into orbit.
Mm-hmm.
So they built the computers from this to this to this to this to this. That's why we have the microtonic microphones and speakers. They were developed to give us function with less weight. That technology, transistors rather than vacuum tube, then a chip with just components on the chip itself. All of this was part of the NASA development. So
that is cool.
Space exploration gave us mobile phone technology as a potential, because those things then became viable. The micro miniature devices, the ability to fiber optics, all of these things. So we're only limited by the imagination of our application of what we currently have access to.
Excuse me.
So this is a big part of it. Okay, I think we've had our weekly phone call. So
it was a good one.
This was a good one. And again, verification verifies that what you think you are doing is being done. Validation is validating the improvement in function for the person.
Okay.
And that's basically the difference.
Those are that's the big difference. Okay.
Having a test, using these standardized tests that tell you this is where the patient felt they were before, and now that I've amplified you, this is where you feel you are now. Great. Even if it's only here, they can see the difference.
Mm-hmm.
If they have no reference of change, no reference of improvement, what do most people do? Well, this is how I functioned before. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember.
I
remember stuff too. Sometimes I remember wrong. Ask my wife; she'll tell you I remember a lot of things wrong. But this is what I think that cold is going around. I just got over that.
Yeah, I don't. I've been getting beat up today. I tell you what, I took the ice finally all melted off the lake. So on Saturday it was beautiful, 60 degrees. I thought I'm gonna go for a kayak ride. I went for a 2.5 hour kayak ride around the entire like bank of the lake. And yesterday my shoulder was screaming, and today I could barely lift anything with my left arm. So I'm gonna hit the hay, hope that I can get rid of that cold sooner than soon as possible, and heal the shoulder up.
That's called you're getting old.
I know. I was just saying today. I was like, man, I hope this isn't what getting old's like, because it's no fun.
Because you'll do things that you had no problem doing before, and then it'll take you 3 days to recover from it.
ah, and then I
That's it.
imagine as the age goes up, so does the recovery time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ah, well, I got that to look forward to.
You got plenty of time. Plenty
Oh,
of time.
good.
All right. On that note, we will draw to a close the April 4th Zoom session. And I'm going to be posting that I would like everyone to start showing up for them because they are posted in the Zoom schedule. Also, I may be a little late next week because we have another rehearsal. Because we're finishing up the Addams Family, and I'm doing the celebrated Jumping Frog of what is it, Calaveras County by Mark Twain,
Ooh.
and I'm playing Mark Twain. So, and we've got 4 weeks to get ready for it.
So to play Mark Twain, you got to grow all the beard and the hair back.
Supposedly, I'm going to be wearing a wig and a fake mustache.
Yeah, it could work. I can see
Yeah,
it.
but I had
it. It'll come back.
It'll come back. It'll come back. All right. On that note, you get better. Take care of yourself, get rest, and drink a lot of hot tea and chicken soup. And we'll probably be talking next week.
All right, sir. You have a fine evening.
You too. And tell me how that works out with the reading the text messages.
Yes, I will keep you posted. Thank you.
Okay. Have a good night.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye bye.